The gunshot echoed through the marble lobby like thunder in a cave. Emma's hands were slick with blood, so much blood that it dripped between her fingers and splashed onto the polished white floor. The security alarms screamed overhead, red lights flashing across the faces of terrified people running in every direction. But Emma couldn't move. She couldn't breathe. She could only stare down at the man lying in her arms, his expensive suit turning dark red, his eyes struggling to stay open. "Stay with me," she whispered, her voice shaking. "Please, just stay with me." The man's name was Marcus Webb, and he was worth $12 billion. Everyone in the world knew his face. He owned hotels in 50 countries. He had buildings with his name written in gold letters. Presidents called him for advice. Movie stars wanted to be his friend. But right now, none of that mattered. Right now, he was dying, and it was all because of Emma. The bullet had been meant for her. She had seen the gunman's eyes lock onto her face. She had watched his finger pull the trigger. But somehow, in a split second that felt like it happened in slow motion, Marcus had thrown himself between Emma and the gun. He had saved her life. Now she was watching his slip away. "Why did you do that?" Emma sobbed, pressing her hands harder against the wound in his chest, trying to stop the bleeding. "Why would you do that for me?" Marcus's lips moved, but no sound came out. His hand reached up, trembling, and touched her face. His fingers left a smear of blood on her cheek. Then his hand fell, his eyes closed, and Emma screamed. Emma Rodriguez had never imagined she would work at the Webb Grand Hotel. Places like that weren't meant for people like her. The lobby had chandeliers made of real crystals that cost more than her mother's house. The carpets were so soft and thick that Emma's cheap work shoes sank into them with every step. Everything smelled like expensive perfume and fresh flowers. Emma was a housekeeper. She cleaned rooms on the 14th floor, which meant she mostly dealt with rich families on vacation and business people who left their towels on the bathroom floor. She worked 10-hour shifts, 6 days a week, and sent most of her paycheck home to her mother and little sister in Mexico. It wasn't glamorous work, but Emma was grateful for it. Jobs were hard to find, especially for someone who had dropped out of college to help her family. She had been working at the Webb Grand for exactly 47 days when everything changed. It started on a Tuesday morning. Emma was pushing her cleaning cart down the hallway toward room 1407 when she heard voices, angry voices. She slowed down, unsure if she should interrupt. The hotel had strict rules about guest privacy. "You have until Friday," a man's voice growled from inside the room. "If we don't see the money by then, there will be consequences." "I told you I need more time," another voice answered. This one was younger, more frightened. "I'm doing everything I can." "More time isn't an option. Mr. Volkov doesn't give second chances." Emma's heart started beating faster. Mr. Volkov. She had heard that name before, whispered by other hotel staff during lunch breaks. He was dangerous, connected to bad people. The kind of man you didn't cross. She quickly pushed her cart past the room, trying to look busy, trying to be invisible. Whatever was happening in room 1407, it wasn't her business. But as she passed the door, it suddenly swung open. A large man in a black suit stepped out. He had scars on his knuckles and cold, empty eyes. He looked at Emma for a long moment, too long, like he was memorizing her face. "You didn't hear anything," he said. "It wasn't a question. It was a warning." Emma nodded quickly, her mouth too dry to speak. The man walked away without another word. Emma's hands were shaking as she unlocked the next room on her list. She told herself to forget about it, to focus on her work, to stay out of trouble. But trouble, she would soon learn, had already found her. That night, Emma was finishing her shift when her supervisor, Miss Chen, called her into the office. "Emma, we need you to do something special tomorrow," Mrs. Chen said, looking uncomfortable. "Mr. Webb himself requested extra attention to the penthouse suite. He has important guests arriving." Emma's eyes went wide. "The penthouse? But I've never—" "I know, but Mr. Webb specifically asked for our most reliable housekeeper, and I recommended you. This is a big opportunity, Emma. Don't mess it up." Emma had never been to the penthouse floor. It was on the 42nd story, the very top of the hotel. Only the richest guests stayed there, and only the most experienced housekeepers were allowed to clean it. She barely slept that night, too nervous about making a mistake. The next morning, Emma rode the elevator up to the penthouse with her heart hammering in her chest. When the doors opened, she stepped into a hallway that looked like something from a palace. Real paintings hung on the walls. The carpet was even softer up here. Everything gleamed. Emma took a deep breath and knocked on the first door. "Come in," a voice called. She pushed her cart inside and froze. Standing by the enormous windows, looking out over the city, was Marcus Webb himself. Emma had seen his face on the news and in magazines, but in person he was somehow different, taller, more tired-looking. His dark suit was perfectly tailored, but his shoulders slumped like he was carrying something heavy. His black hair was slightly messy, like he'd been running his hands through it. "I'm sorry," Emma stammered. "I didn't know you were here. I can come back." "No, it's fine," Marcus said, turning to look at her. "I should have told the front desk I'd be working from the suite today. Go ahead and clean. I'll stay out of your way." He moved to the desk in the corner and opened his laptop, but Emma could feel him watching her as she worked. It made her nervous. Her hands fumbled with the sheets. She knocked over a bottle of expensive shampoo in the bathroom and had to scramble to catch it. "Relax," Marcus said suddenly, his voice gentler. "You're doing fine." Emma nodded, but didn't look at him. She focused on folding the towels exactly right, making sure every corner was perfect. She was almost finished when she heard it. A phone ringing. Marcus answered it, and his whole body went stiff. Emma tried not to listen, but the room was too quiet. "I told you I'm handling it," Marcus said into the phone, his voice low and tight. "No, I don't need your help, because I don't trust you. That's why this conversation is over." He hung up and threw the phone onto the couch. Then he put his face in his hands. Emma didn't know what to do. She wanted to leave, to give him privacy, but she wasn't finished cleaning yet. She stood frozen, holding a stack of fresh towels. "I'm sorry you had to hear that," Marcus said without looking up. "It's okay," Emma said quietly. "I didn't hear anything." Marcus laughed, a bitter sound. "Everyone always says that." He finally looked at her, really looked at her, and Emma was surprised to see how exhausted he seemed. "What's your name?" "Emma. Emma Rodriguez?" "Well, Emma Rodriguez, let me give you some advice." He leaned back in his chair. "Never let people convince you that money solves all your problems. Sometimes it just gives you more expensive problems." Emma didn't know what to say to that, so she just nodded. She finished cleaning quickly after that and wheeled her cart toward the door. But as she reached for the handle, Marcus spoke again. "Emma?" She turned. "Thank you," he said, "for not asking questions." Emma left the penthouse feeling strange, like something important had just happened, even though she didn't understand what. She had no idea that this was only the beginning, that in just a few weeks she would risk everything to save this man's life, and that when she did, her whole world would shatter into pieces. But that moment was still coming. Right now, walking toward the elevator, Emma was just a housekeeper finishing her shift. Right now, she was still safe. For now. Over the next 2 weeks, Emma cleaned the penthouse suite 4 more times. Each time, Marcus Webb was there, working at his desk or taking phone calls that seemed to make him more and more stressed. Sometimes he would ask her simple questions. Where was she from? How long had she worked at the hotel? Did she like the city? Emma answered politely but kept her distance. She had learned long ago that rich people asking questions didn't always mean they cared about the answers. But Marcus seemed different. He actually listened when she spoke. He remembered things she told him. Once, when Emma mentioned her little sister Sophia wanted to be a doctor, Marcus asked about it the next time he saw her. "How old is Sophia now?" he asked while Emma was changing the bed sheets. "She's 15, Emma said, surprised he remembered. "She's at the top of her class, but college is expensive. That's why I work so much, to help pay for her books and uniforms." Marcus nodded slowly. "That's a good sister you are." Emma smiled, but said nothing more. She didn't like talking about money with people who had billions of dollars. They could never really understand. What Emma didn't know was that Marcus was dealing with problems that money couldn't fix. On Thursday of the second week, Emma arrived at the penthouse and heard shouting before she even opened the door. She knocked quietly, but nobody answered. The yelling continued. Emma's supervisor had told her the suite needed to be cleaned by noon, so she used her master key and pushed her cart inside. The sight that greeted her made her freeze. Marcus stood in the middle of the living room with 2 other men. One was tall and thin with silver hair and an expensive watch that caught the light. The other was shorter, muscular, with tattoos climbing up his neck. But it was the third person that made Emma's blood run cold. The man from room 1407, the one with the scarred knuckles, the one who had warned her to forget what she'd heard. All 3 men turned to look at her. "I'm so sorry," Emma stammered, backing toward the door. "I didn't know. I'll come back later." "No, stay," Marcus said firmly. His voice sounded strange, tight. These gentlemen were just leaving. The silver-haired man smiled, but it wasn't a friendly smile. "We'll continue this conversation later, Marcus, and next time maybe choose a location with more privacy." He walked past Emma, and the other 2 men followed. The tattooed one didn't look at her, but the man with scarred knuckles paused in the doorway. "You again," he said quietly, his eyes boring into Emma's face. "You must be the luckiest cleaner in the city, always in the right place at the right time." Emma's heart pounded so hard she thought everyone could hear it. "Leave her alone, Dmitri," Marcus said sharply. "She's just doing her job." Dmitri stared at Emma for one more long moment, then left. The door clicked shut. Emma stood frozen, her hands gripping the handle of her cleaning cart so hard her knuckles turned white. Marcus walked to the window and looked out over the city. His shoulders were tense. his hands balled into fists at his sides. "I'm sorry you had to see that," he said finally. "It's okay," Emma whispered, even though it wasn't okay at all. Everything about this felt wrong, dangerous. "No, it's not." Marcus turned to face her. He looked exhausted, like he hadn't slept in days. There were dark circles under his eyes, and his usually perfect hair was messy. "Emma, I need to ask you something, and I need you to be honest with me." Emma nodded, unable to speak. "That man who just left, Dmitri, have you seen him before?" Emma's mind raced. Should she lie? Should she tell the truth? Her mother had always taught her to stay away from trouble, to keep her head down, to never get involved in things that weren't her business. But something about the look in Marcus's eyes made her answer honestly. "Yes," she said quietly. 2 weeks ago. He was in room 1407. I heard him threatening someone about money, about someone named Mr. Volkov." Marcus's face went pale. He walked over to the couch and sat down heavily, putting his head in his hands. "Of course," he muttered. "Of course they've been here that long." "What's going on?" Emma asked before she could stop herself. "Are you in trouble?" Marcus looked up at her, and for a long moment he seemed to be deciding something. Finally, he spoke. "6 months ago, I made a mistake," he said quietly. "I trusted the wrong person with a business deal. That person turned out to be connected to Alexei Volkov, a very dangerous man who runs illegal operations in this city. Now they claim I owe them money, a lot of money." "But you're a billionaire," Emma said, confused. "Can't you just pay them?" Marcus laughed bitterly. "It's not about the money, Emma. It's about control. They want me to use my hotels, my connections, my reputation to help them launder money and move illegal goods across borders. If I give them what they want, I become part of their organization. If I don't—" He trailed off. "If you don't, what?" Emma asked, though part of her didn't want to know the answer. "If I don't, they hurt the people I care about." Marcus's voice was hollow. "My sister, my employees, anyone they can use as leverage." Emma felt sick. She wanted to leave, to run back downstairs to the safe, normal world of cleaning rooms and folding towels. But her feet wouldn't move. "Why are you telling me this?" she whispered. "Because you keep showing up at the wrong moments," Marcus said, meeting her eyes. "And because Dmitri noticed. That makes you a loose end, Emma. And people like Volkov don't like loose ends." The words hit Emma like ice water. "What does that mean?" "It means you need to be careful, very careful. Don't talk to anyone about what you've seen or heard. Don't go anywhere alone after dark. And if anyone approaches you asking questions about me, you tell me immediately." Emma nodded, her throat too tight to speak. Marcus stood up and walked to his desk. He pulled out a business card and wrote something on the back. "This is my personal cell phone number," he said, handing it to Emma. "If you see Dmitri again, or if anything feels wrong, you call me. Day or night. Understand?" Emma took the card with shaking hands. "Okay." "I'm sorry you got dragged into this," Marcus said softly. "You don't deserve it." Emma finished cleaning the suite as quickly as she could, her mind spinning. When she left, she could feel Marcus watching her go. That night, Emma couldn't sleep. She kept thinking about Dmitri's cold eyes, about Marcus's warning, about the name Alexei Volkov. She pulled out her phone and almost called her mother. But what would she say? That she was scared? That she'd accidentally gotten involved with dangerous criminals? Her mother would tell her to quit her job immediately, to come home to Mexico. But Emma couldn't quit. Her family needed the money. Sophia's school fees were due next month. Her mother's medicine was expensive. So Emma decided to do what she always did: keep her head down, work hard, and hope the danger would pass her by. She had no idea how wrong she was. The next day, Friday, Emma was cleaning the rooms on the 14th floor when she saw him. Dmitri. He was standing at the end of the hallway talking to a woman Emma didn't recognize. They were speaking in low voices, and Dmitri kept looking around like he was making sure no one was watching. Emma quickly pushed her cart into the nearest room and closed the door most of the way, leaving it open just a crack so she could peek out. The woman handed Dmitri a thick envelope. He opened it, counted what was inside, then nodded. The woman started to walk away, but Dmitri grabbed her arm. "Tell Volkov that Webb is running out of time," Dmitri said loud enough for Emma to hear. "If he doesn't cooperate by Monday, we move to Plan B." "What's Plan B?" the woman asked. Dmitri smiled, a terrible smile that made Emma's stomach turn. "We take someone he cares about. We make him watch them suffer until he gives us what we want." The woman nodded and walked away. Dmitri stood there for another moment, then turned and looked directly at the door Emma was hiding behind. Emma's heart stopped. Could he see her? Did he know she was there? Dmitri started walking toward her. Emma backed away from the door, her mind racing. Should she hide? Should she run? Should she? Her phone buzzed in her pocket. She pulled it out with trembling hands. It was a text from an unknown number. "Are you okay? I saw Dmitri go to your floor on the security cameras. Hide, now." Emma, Marcus. He was watching out for her. Emma looked around the room frantically. The closet? Under the bed? Behind the... The door swung open. Dmitri stood in the doorway, blocking her only exit. His scarred hands hung at his sides, relaxed, like he had all the time in the world. "Well, well," he said softly, "the little cleaner. We need to have a conversation about what you've been hearing." Emma's mouth went dry. "I haven't heard anything." "I don't know anything. That's what everyone says." Dmitri stepped into the room and closed the door behind him. "But see, I don't believe you. You were there 2 weeks ago in room 1407. You were there yesterday in Mr. Webb's suite, and now you're here, hiding, when you should be cleaning." "I'm not hiding," Emma said, trying to keep her voice steady. "I'm just doing my job." "Your job?" Dmitri laughed. "You know what I think, little cleaner. I think you're working for Webb. I think he's paying you to spy on us." "That's not true." "Then prove it." Dmitri moved closer. "Tell me everything Webb said to you yesterday. Every word." Emma's mind raced. If she told him the truth, she'd betray Marcus. But if she lied, Dmitri would know. He just asked me to clean faster," Emma stammered. "That's all, I swear." Dmitri's eyes narrowed. "You're lying." He reached out, and Emma flinched backward, bumping into the desk behind her. Suddenly, the door burst open. Hotel security flooded into the room. 3 uniformed officers, all looking stern and alert. "Sir, you need to come with us," the lead officer said to Dmitri. "We've had reports of an unauthorized person harassing staff members." Dmitri's face went dark with anger. But he didn't argue. He gave Emma one last long look, a look that promised this wasn't over, then walked out with the security officers. Emma collapsed onto the bed, her whole body shaking. Her phone buzzed again. "Are you hurt? M.W.?" Emma texted back with trembling fingers. "No, thank you. Meet me in the penthouse in 10 minutes. We need to talk." When Emma arrived at the penthouse suite, Marcus was pacing back and forth like a caged animal. The moment she walked in, he stopped and looked at her with such relief that Emma felt something strange flutter in her chest. "Are you okay?" he asked, walking toward her. "Did he hurt you?" "No, I'm fine. You called security just in time." "I've been watching the cameras all day," Marcus admitted. "I knew they'd try something. Volkov is getting desperate." "What's Plan B?" Emma asked. "I heard Dmitri say something about Plan B." Marcus's face darkened. "It means they're going to kidnap someone close to me. Use them as leverage to force me to cooperate." "Your sister?" Emma asked. "Maybe, or—" Marcus looked at her with an expression Emma couldn't quite read. "Or they might target someone else, someone they've seen me talking to, someone who might matter to me." The implication hung in the air between them. "They think I matter to you?" Emma whispered. "You're in danger because of me," Marcus said quietly. "That makes you matter." Emma didn't know what to say to that. Marcus walked to the window and stared out at the city. "I'm leaving tomorrow," he said. "I have a meeting in another city, somewhere Volkov's people can't follow. While I'm gone, I want you to take a few days off. Go visit your family. Get out of this hotel. I'll pay you for the time." "I can't," Emma interrupted. "I can't just leave. I have bills to pay, responsibilities." "Emma, these people are dangerous." "I know that." Emma's voice came out sharper than she intended. "I know they're dangerous, but running away won't help. They know who I am now. They know where I work. If they want to find me, they will." Marcus turned to look at her, and something in his expression shifted. Respect, maybe, or something else. "You're braver than I thought," he said softly. "I'm not brave," Emma said. "I'm just practical and scared." "Being scared and standing your ground anyway, that's the definition of brave." They stood there for a moment, looking at each other across the expensive penthouse suite. Emma, in her simple cleaning uniform with her cart of supplies and her cheap shoes. Marcus, in his tailored suit, surrounded by luxury that could buy anything except safety. Two people from completely different worlds, caught in the same nightmare. "I won't let them hurt you," Marcus said finally. "I promise you that." "You can't promise that," Emma said. "You don't control what they do." "Then I'll do whatever it takes to keep you safe." The intensity in his voice made Emma's breath catch. She wanted to believe him. She wanted to trust that someone as powerful as Marcus Webb could actually protect her. But deep down, she knew the truth. When you're caught between a billionaire and a crime lord, ordinary people like Emma Rodriguez don't survive. They just become collateral damage. Emma left the penthouse that evening with Marcus's promise ringing in her ears. She took the elevator down to the 14th floor, collected her cleaning cart, and finished her shift. Everything looked normal. The hallways were quiet. The guests were polite. Nothing seemed wrong. But as Emma walked to the staff exit at the end of the night, she couldn't shake the feeling that someone was watching her. She looked over her shoulder 3 times before she reached her car. Nothing. Nobody. Just shadows and paranoia. Emma drove home to her small apartment, locked all the doors and tried to sleep, but sleep wouldn't come. At 2:47 a.m., her phone rang. Emma grabbed it. heart pounding, expecting to see Marcus's number. Instead, it was unknown. She almost didn't answer, but something made her press the green button. "Hello?" she whispered, heavy breathing on the other end. Then a voice she recognized. Dmitri. "You made a mistake today, little cleaner," he said softly. "You made Mr. Volkov very angry, and when Mr. Volkov gets angry, people disappear." "Leave me alone," Emma said, trying to sound brave, but her voice shook. "Oh, we will, for now. But remember this. We know where you live. We know where your mother lives. We know what school your little sister Sophia attends." Emma's blood turned to ice. "Don't you dare! Sweet dreams, little cleaner." The line went dead. Emma sat in her bed, clutching her phone, tears streaming down her face. They knew about Sophia. They knew about her mother. Emma had thought she was just a nobody, too small, too insignificant for dangerous people to care about. She'd been wrong, and now everyone she loved was in danger, because she'd tried to do the right thing, because Marcus Webb had decided she mattered, because she'd been in the wrong place at the wrong time over and over again. Emma wanted to scream. She wanted to cry. She wanted to run as far away as possible and never look back. Instead, she did something that would change everything. She called Marcus. He answered on the first ring. "Emma? What's wrong?" "They called me," she sobbed. "They threatened my family, my sister. They know where we all live." Silence on the other end. Then Marcus's voice, hard as steel. "Pack a bag. I'm sending a car for you right now." "What? Where?" "Somewhere safe. I'm not letting them hurt you or your family. Pack now. The car will be there in 10 minutes. "But, Emma, trust me. Please." Emma looked around her small apartment, at the photos of Sophia on the wall, at her mother's rosary hanging by the door, at the life she'd built from nothing, and she made a choice. "Okay," she whispered. "I trust you." It was the choice that would lead her here, to this moment, to standing in a hotel lobby with blood on her hands and a dying billionaire in her arms, to the gunshot that had just torn her world apart. But Emma didn't know that yet. Right now, packing her bag in the middle of the night, she still thought maybe, just maybe, everything would be okay. She had no idea that in exactly 3 weeks she would risk everything to save Marcus Webb's life, and that when she did, it would break her heart in ways she couldn't imagine. The black car that picked up Emma wasn't like any car she'd ever been in before. The seats were made of soft leather that smelled expensive. The windows were tinted so dark she couldn't see outside, and the driver, a serious-looking woman with short gray hair, didn't say a single word during the entire drive. Emma clutched her bag on her lap and watched the city lights blur past through the dark windows. She had no idea where they were going. She'd tried asking the driver twice, but the woman had just looked at her in the rearview mirror and stayed silent. After 40 minutes, the car turned off the highway and drove down a long, winding road surrounded by tall trees. Emma's heart started beating faster. Where were they taking her? What if this was a trap? What if Marcus hadn't sent this car at all? Finally, the car stopped in front of a large house. No, not a house, a mansion. It was 3 stories tall with huge windows and a fountain in the circular driveway. Lights glowed warmly from inside, making it look like something from a fairy tale. The driver opened Emma's door. "Mr. Webb is waiting inside." Emma stepped out, her legs shaky. She'd never seen a place like this except on television. The front door opened before she could knock, and there stood Marcus. He'd changed out of his suit and was wearing jeans and a gray sweater. Without his fancy clothes, he looked younger, more human, more tired. "Emma," he said, relief flooding his face. "Thank God you're okay." "Where are we?" Emma asked, looking around the enormous entryway. There was a chandelier hanging from the ceiling that was bigger than her entire bedroom. "My private residence. One of them, anyway. Only a few people know about this place. You'll be safe here." "For how long?" Marcus's expression darkened. "Until I figure out how to end this. Come on, I'll show you to your room." He led her up a wide staircase with a polished wooden railing that probably cost more than Emma made in a year. The hallway on the second floor had paintings on the walls. Real paintings, not prints like the ones in Emma's apartment. Marcus opened a door and gestured for her to go inside. Emma gasped. The bedroom was bigger than her entire apartment. There was a huge bed with white sheets that looked like clouds, a sitting area with a couch and chairs, and floor-to-ceiling windows that showed the dark forest outside. Through another door, Emma could see a bathroom with a bathtub that could fit 3 people. This is too much," Emma whispered. "It's just a room," Marcus said gently. "There are clothes in the closet that should fit you. I had my assistant buy some things. The kitchen downstairs is fully stocked. Help yourself to anything you need." "What about my mother, my sister? If Volkov's people know where they live—" "Already handled," Marcus interrupted. "I have a security team watching your mother's house right now. If anyone suspicious comes near, they'll intervene. And I've arranged for Sophia to have a bodyguard at school, someone who looks like a regular teacher but is actually ex-military." Emma felt tears prick her eyes. "Why are you doing all this for me?" Marcus was quiet for a long moment. "Because you got dragged into my mess. Because you're in danger because of me. And because—" He trailed off, looking uncomfortable. "Because I don't want anything to happen to you." The way he said it made Emma's heart do something strange in her chest. "Get some rest," Marcus said, turning toward the door. "We'll talk more in the morning." "Wait," Emma called out. "Where are you sleeping?" "Down the hall. If you need anything, just call out. I'll hear you." Then he was gone, and Emma was alone in this beautiful, terrifying room. She sat on the edge of the enormous bed and pulled out her phone. She wanted to call her mother, to hear her voice, to make sure she was okay. But what would she say? How could she explain any of this? Instead, Emma sent a simple text. "Working late tonight. Love you. Kiss Sophia for me." Her mother replied almost immediately, "Be safe, mija. We love you." Emma lay down on the bed, still wearing her clothes, and stared at the ceiling. 12 hours ago, she'd been a housekeeper, worried about paying bills and sending money home. Now she was hiding in a billionaire's secret mansion because a crime lord wanted to use her as leverage. How had her life become a nightmare so quickly? Emma didn't sleep much that night. Every sound made her jump. The wind against the windows, the house settling, a door closing somewhere downstairs. She kept thinking about Dmitri's voice on the phone. "We know where your mother lives. We know what school your little sister Sophia attends." At sunrise, Emma gave up trying to sleep and went downstairs. She found Marcus in the kitchen making coffee. He looked like he hadn't slept either. His hair was messy, and there were dark circles under his eyes that made him look vulnerable in a way Emma had never seen before. "Couldn't sleep?" he asked, pouring her a cup without asking if she wanted one. "No." Emma took the coffee gratefully. "Did something happen? Did they try anything?" "No. My security team reported that everything's quiet at your mother's house. No suspicious activity." "That's good," Emma said, but she didn't feel relieved. The quiet felt wrong, like the calm before a storm. Marcus leaned against the counter and studied her. "I need to tell you something, and you're not going to like it." Emma's stomach dropped. "What?" "I got a call an hour ago from one of my contacts in the police department. They found a body last night." "Who?" "The man from room 1407. The one Dmitri was threatening. They found him in the river with a bullet in his head." Emma's hand started shaking so badly that coffee sloshed over the side of her cup. Marcus gently took it from her and set it on the counter. "This is what they do, Emma. When people don't pay, when people don't cooperate, they make examples." "That could have been me," Emma whispered. "No, I won't let that happen." "You can't control everything." Emma's voice came out louder than she meant it to. "You're rich and powerful, but you can't stop these people. They kill whoever they want." "I know." Marcus's voice was quiet. "That's why I'm not going to play their game anymore." "What does that mean?" Marcus straightened up, and something in his expression changed. He looked harder, more determined. "I've been trying to negotiate with Volkov, trying to find a peaceful solution. But there is no peaceful solution with men like him. So I'm going to do something I should have done from the beginning." "What?" "I'm going to destroy him." Emma stared at him. "How?" "Volkov's operation depends on staying hidden. He uses legitimate businesses as fronts, restaurants, hotels, shipping companies. If I can expose his network, show the authorities where to look, I can bring his whole empire crashing down." "And you think he'll just let you do that?" Emma asked. "He'll kill you first." "Probably," Marcus said calmly, "but at least you'll be safe. Your family will be safe." "That's what matters." Emma felt something crack open inside her chest. "Don't talk like that. Don't talk like you're already dead." Marcus looked at her with an expression that made it hard to breathe. "Would you care if I was?" The question hung between them like something fragile and dangerous. "Yes," Emma whispered before she could stop herself. "I would care." For a long moment, neither of them moved. Then Marcus turned away, breaking the spell. "I have to go into the city today," he said, his voice carefully neutral. "Meet with some people. Gather information. You'll stay here with my head of security, a woman named Catherine. She's ex-Secret Service. Nothing will happen to you while she's around." "I want to come with you," Emma said. "Absolutely not." "Why? Because I'm just a housekeeper? Because I'm not important enough? Because you're in danger," Marcus snapped, finally showing real emotion. "Emma, these people want to hurt you to get to me. The safest thing you can do is stay hidden." "I'm tired of hiding," Emma said, surprised by her own boldness. "I'm tired of being scared. If you're going to fight back, I want to help." "You can't." "I heard things," Emma interrupted. "At the hotel. I saw people. I might know something useful." Marcus studied her for a long moment. "You really want to do this?" "Yes." "Fine. But you do exactly what I say. And if things get dangerous, you run. Deal?" "Deal." 3 hours later, Emma found herself in the back of Marcus's car driving into the city. She was wearing new clothes, jeans and a sweater from the closet in her room that fit perfectly. Marcus sat beside her, working on his laptop, his face intense with concentration. "Where are we going?" Emma asked. "To meet someone who used to work for Volkov. He got out 2 years ago and went into witness protection. He's agreed to talk to us, but only for 20 minutes. He's terrified they'll find him." They pulled up outside a small diner on the edge of the city, the kind of place with cracked vinyl booths and coffee that tasted like water. Inside, a thin man with nervous eyes sat in the back corner booth. "Webb," the man said when they approached. His eyes flicked to Emma. "Who's she?" "A friend," Marcus said. "She's trustworthy." The man didn't look convinced, but he gestured for them to sit down. "I can't stay long," he said, glancing at the door every few seconds. "If Volkov finds out I'm talking to you, I'm dead." "I just need information," Marcus said. "Where does he keep his records, his financial documents?" The man laughed, a bitter sound. "You think Volkov keeps paper trails? Everything's encrypted, digital, impossible to trace." "There has to be something." "There is one thing," the man interrupted. "Volkov has a ledger. Old school, an actual physical book where he records everything, every payment, every deal, every name. He keeps it because he doesn't trust computers. Says they can be hacked." Marcus leaned forward. "Where is it?" "In his office. Top floor of the Meridian building downtown. But you'll never get to it. The security is insane. Armed guards, cameras everywhere, fingerprint scanners on every door." "Is there another way in?" The man was quiet for a moment. Then he said, "There's a service entrance used by cleaning crews. It's less secure. If you had someone who looked like they belonged there—" His eyes drifted to Emma. Emma's stomach dropped. She understood immediately what he was suggesting. "No," Marcus said firmly. "Absolutely not." "It's the only way," the man said. "Nobody pays attention to cleaning people. They're invisible. She could get in, find the ledger, and get out before anyone notices." "I said no." Marcus stood up. "We'll find another way." But Emma's mind was already racing. She thought about the man from room 1407, found in the river with a bullet in his head. She thought about Dmitri's threat. "We know what school your little sister Sophia attends." She thought about Marcus, throwing himself between her and a gun. Wait, that hadn't happened yet. Or had it? Emma's head spun. The memories felt confused, like she was remembering something that hadn't occurred yet, but somehow already had. "I'll do it," Emma heard herself say. Marcus turned to stare at her. "What?" "I'll get the ledger. I know how to be invisible. I've been doing it my whole life." "Emma, you don't understand how dangerous—" "I understand perfectly," Emma interrupted. "And I'm doing it anyway. Not because you're asking me to. Because it's the only way to keep my family safe." Marcus looked at her for a long moment. Emma could see him warring with himself, wanting to protect her, but knowing she was right. "If we do this," he finally said, "we do it my way, with backup, with a plan. And the second anything goes wrong, you get out. Agreed?" Emma nodded. The man across from them smiled grimly. "Well then, I guess we're going to rob Alexei Volkov." Over the next week, Emma learned things she never imagined she'd need to know. Marcus hired a security consultant named Derek, who taught Emma how to move through buildings without being noticed, how to spot cameras, how to pick simple locks. He showed her photos of Volkov's office layout and made her memorize every detail until she could draw it from memory. Catherine, the ex-Secret Service agent, taught Emma what to do if someone confronted her, how to lie convincingly, how to stay calm when her heart was racing, how to fight back if she had to. And Marcus was always there, watching her train, making sure she ate, checking on her at night when he thought she was asleep. Emma found herself noticing things about him she'd never seen before. The way he drummed his fingers when he was thinking, the way he smiled, really smiled, when Derek made a joke, the way he looked at Emma sometimes like she was something precious he was afraid to break. One night, Emma couldn't sleep and went downstairs for water. She found Marcus on the back patio staring out at the dark forest. "Can't sleep either?" she asked, joining him. "Too much on my mind." They stood in silence for a moment. Then Emma said, "Tell me about your sister." Marcus glanced at her, surprised. "How do you know I have a sister?" "You mentioned her once at the hotel." Marcus was quiet for so long that Emma thought he wouldn't answer. Then he said, "Her name is Elena. She's 5 years younger than me. Lives in Europe now, as far from my life as possible." "You don't talk to her?" "Not much. She blames me for our father's death. Maybe she's right. What happened? My father built everything we have, the hotels, the businesses, all of it. But he made deals with the wrong people, including Volkov's organization. When my father tried to cut ties, they killed him. Made it look like an accident. I was 23. Elena was 18. She never forgave me for taking over the business instead of walking away. "That's not fair," Emma said softly. "You didn't kill him." "No, but I inherited his problems, and now those problems are threatening innocent people." He looked at Emma. "Threatening you?" Emma's breath caught. "Marcus." He turned to face her fully, and suddenly he was very close, close enough that Emma could see the gold flecks in his dark eyes, close enough that she could feel the warmth coming off his skin. "I need you to understand something," Marcus said, his voice rough. "When this is over, when you have that ledger and Volkov goes to prison, you need to go back to your normal life, back to your family, back to being invisible." "Why?" Emma whispered. "Because people in my world don't get happy endings. They get threats and danger and bodyguards and paranoia. You deserve better than that." "Don't I get to decide what I deserve?" Marcus's jaw tightened. For a moment, Emma thought he might kiss her. She wanted him too. She leaned forward slightly, her heart pounding. Marcus stepped back. "Get some sleep," he said, his voice carefully controlled. "Tomorrow, we finalize the plan." He walked back into the house, leaving Emma alone in the dark. 2 days later, everything was ready. Emma stood outside the Meridian building wearing a cleaning uniform identical to the ones used by the service company that handled Volkov's office. She had a fake ID badge, a cart full of supplies, and a tiny earpiece through which Marcus could talk to her. "You okay?" Marcus's voice came through the earpiece. "No," Emma admitted. "I'm terrified." "Good. Terrified means careful. You remember the plan? Go to the 32nd floor. Clean the conference room. Wait until the guards change shift at 8. Then go to Volkov's office on 33. The ledger is in a safe behind the painting of the Red Mountains. Use the stethoscope to crack it. Get out. And if something goes wrong, I run. Good girl. I'm right here. You're not alone." Emma took a deep breath and pushed her cart through the service entrance. The next 30 minutes were the longest of her life. She cleaned the conference room with shaking hands, hyper-aware of every person who walked past, every camera that might be watching. At exactly 8 o'clock, she heard Marcus's voice in her ear. "Guards are changing. You have 4 minutes. Go." Emma pushed her cart to the stairwell and climbed one floor. The hallway on 33 was empty and dark. Most people had gone home for the day. She found Volkov's office and used the lockpick Derek had given her. The door clicked open. Emma's heart was beating so hard she thought it might explode. She closed the door behind her and looked around. The office was huge and cold. Black furniture, dark wood, and on the far wall a painting of red mountains. Emma rushed over and carefully removed the painting. There was the safe. She pulled out the stethoscope and pressed it against the metal, turning the dial slowly, listening for the click that would tell her she'd found the right number. Click, click, click. The safe opened. Inside was a leather-bound book, old and worn, filled with pages of handwritten notes in a language Emma didn't recognize. But she saw numbers, dates, names. This was it. "Marcus, I have it," Emma whispered. "Perfect. Now get out. Same way you came in." Emma grabbed the book and turned toward the door and froze. Standing in the doorway was Dmitri. He smiled his terrible smile. "Hello, little cleaner." Emma's blood turned to ice. "I wondered how long it would take Webb to try something like this," Dmitri said, stepping into the room. "And I knew if he did, he'd use you. You're predictable, both of you." "Marcus, he's here," Emma started to say. Dmitri pulled out a small device and pressed a button. Emma's earpiece filled with static, then went dead. "Signal jammer," Dmitri said. "Now it's just you and me. Give me the book." Emma looked at the ledger in her hands. This book could destroy Volkov. It could save her family. It could end all of this. She couldn't give it up. "No," Emma said, her voice shaking but firm. Dmitri's smile vanished. He pulled out a gun. "Give me the book, or I will shoot you right here." Emma's mind raced. The window behind her. Could she break it? Jump? They were 33 floors up. She'd die. But maybe that was better than letting Volkov win. "Marcus was right about you," Dmitri said, moving closer. "You're brave, stupid, but brave. It's a shame you'll die for nothing." He raised the gun. Emma closed her eyes. And then glass shattered. Someone crashed through the window on a rope. "Marcus!" He slammed into Dmitri, and they both went down. The gun skittered across the floor. Emma dove for it, her hands closing around cold metal. She'd never held a gun before. It was heavier than she expected. Marcus and Dmitri were fighting, a brutal, desperate struggle. They crashed into the desk. Dmitri got on top, his hands around Marcus's throat. Emma raised the gun with shaking hands. "Stop!" she screamed. "Get off him or I'll shoot." Dmitri looked at her and laughed. "You won't do it. You're just a cleaner. You're nobody." But he was wrong. Emma wasn't nobody. She was someone who'd risked everything to save her family, someone who'd learned to be brave when bravery was the only choice left, someone who mattered. Emma pulled the trigger. The sound was deafening. Dmitri fell. Marcus scrambled to his feet, his face white with shock. Emma dropped the gun like it had burned her. Her whole body was shaking. She couldn't stop staring at Dmitri's body on the floor. "We have to go," Marcus said, grabbing her arm. "Right now. More guards will come." They ran. Out the door, down the stairs, through the service exit where Catherine was waiting in a running car. They drove away as sirens filled the air behind them. Emma sat in the back seat, clutching the leather-bound ledger, unable to speak. She'd just shot someone. She'd just saved Marcus's life. Everything had changed, and they still had no idea that the worst was yet to come. The night of the charity gala arrived too quickly. Emma stood in front of the mirror in Marcus's penthouse suite, barely recognizing herself. The dress Marcus had bought for her was the most beautiful thing she'd ever worn. Deep emerald green silk that flowed like water and made her dark eyes look even darker. Her hair had been styled by a professional. She wore makeup that someone else had applied. Diamond earrings borrowed from Marcus's mother's collection sparkled at her ears. She looked like she belonged in Marcus's world. But Emma knew the truth. Fancy dresses and borrowed diamonds couldn't change who she was. Tonight, she wasn't here to play Cinderella. She was here to keep Marcus alive. "You look beautiful," Marcus said from the doorway. Emma turned to face him, and her breath caught. Marcus wore a black tuxedo that fit him perfectly. His dark hair was styled back from his face. He looked powerful and untouchable, like the billionaire everyone expected him to be. But Emma could see the tension in his shoulders, the worry in his eyes. "Are you sure about this?" Emma asked. "We could still cancel." "We've been over this," Marcus said gently, crossing the room to stand in front of her. "We have 50 security guards stationed throughout the hotel. Catherine has vetted every single guest on the list. Derek is monitoring all entrances. If anything happens, we'll be ready." "You can't prepare for everything." "No," Marcus agreed, "but I can promise you this. I'm not leaving your side tonight. Whatever happens, we face it together." He held out his hand. Emma took it, feeling his warm fingers close around hers. "Together," she whispered. The hotel's grand ballroom had been transformed into something magical. Crystal chandeliers hung from the ceiling, casting rainbow light across the dance floor. Round tables draped in white silk filled the space, each one decorated with flowers and candles. An orchestra played soft music in one corner. Waiters in formal uniforms carried trays of champagne and expensive appetizers. 500 guests filled the room. Politicians, celebrities, business leaders, philanthropists. Everyone who was anyone in the city had come to Marcus Webb's charity gala. Emma felt 1,000 eyes on her as she entered on Marcus's arm. She heard whispers, saw people pointing, felt their judgment like a physical weight. Who is she? Where did she come from? What is Marcus Webb doing with a nobody like her? Emma lifted her chin and squeezed Marcus's hand. She wasn't a nobody, not anymore. "Mr. Webb!" A woman in a red dress approached them, her smile bright and fake. "What a wonderful event! And who is this lovely young lady?" "This is Emma Rodriguez," Marcus said, his voice warm with pride. "Emma, this is Senator Patricia Hughes." The senator's smile didn't reach her eyes as she looked Emma up and down. "How nice. And what do you do, dear?" "I work in hospitality," Emma said smoothly. It wasn't a lie, just not the whole truth. "How charming." The senator had already lost interest. She turned back to Marcus. "We should discuss that zoning proposal next week." "Not tonight," Marcus interrupted firmly. "Tonight is about the children's hospital." He guided Emma away before the senator could protest. "That was rude," Emma whispered. "That woman wanted to use children's charity to talk business. That's rude." Marcus grabbed 2 glasses of champagne from a passing waiter and handed one to Emma. "Come on." I want you to meet some people who actually matter." For the next hour, Marcus introduced Emma to dozens of people. Some were kind, some were curious. Some looked at Emma like she was a gold digger who'd tricked poor Marcus Webb into bringing her. Emma smiled through all of it, her face hurting from the effort. But the whole time, she was watching, looking for anything suspicious, anyone who seemed out of place, any sign of danger. So far, everything seemed normal. Maybe her warning had been enough. Maybe the assassins had changed their plans. Maybe Emma's thoughts were interrupted by the sound of a spoon tapping against crystal. The room fell silent as Marcus stepped up to the podium at the front of the ballroom. "Good evening, everyone," Marcus said, his voice carrying through the space. "Thank you all for coming tonight. Your generosity will help save children's lives." Applause filled the room. Emma stood near the front, watching Marcus give his speech. He talked about the hospital, about kids who needed surgeries they couldn't afford, about how every dollar donated tonight would make a difference. He was good at this, charming, persuasive. Emma could see why people followed him, why they trusted him. But she also saw how exposed he was up there, standing in front of hundreds of people, a perfect target. Emma's eyes scanned the crowd, looking for anything wrong. And then she saw him, a waiter standing near the back exit. He wasn't serving food. He wasn't pouring drinks. He was just standing there, watching Marcus with an intensity that made Emma's skin crawl. Their eyes met. Recognition flashed across the man's face. Emma's heart stopped. She knew that face, not from the hotel, not from anywhere recent. From the night she shot Dmitri. This man had been there, in the hallway outside Volkov's office. One of the guards. He was here, inside the gala. And he was reaching inside his jacket. "Gun!" Emma screamed. Everything happened at once. The waiter pulled out a pistol. Security guards rushed forward. Guests started screaming. And Emma ran, not away from danger, toward it. She ran straight for Marcus, her high heels making her stumble, her dress tangling around her legs. She saw the gunman's arm raise, saw his finger on the trigger, saw the weapon aimed directly at Marcus's chest. Emma threw herself forward with every ounce of strength she had. She crashed into Marcus just as the gun fired. The sound was deafening. They fell together, hitting the floor hard. Emma felt something hot and sharp tear through her shoulder. Pain exploded through her body, stealing her breath. But Marcus was safe beneath her. She'd made it in time. "Emma!" Marcus's voice sounded far away. "Emma, no!" More gunshots, shouting, chaos. Emma couldn't focus on any of it. The pain was too intense. The world was spinning. She felt Marcus's hands on her face, heard him calling her name, but everything was getting dark and fuzzy around the edges. "Stay with me," Marcus begged. His face was above hers, tears streaming down his cheeks. "Please, Emma, stay with me." Emma wanted to tell him she was okay, that he was safe, that she'd do it all over again. But the darkness pulled her under before she could speak. Emma woke up to the sound of machines beeping. Hospital. She was in a hospital. The room was dark, except for the glow of monitors beside her bed. Everything hurt, especially her left shoulder, which felt like it was on fire. "You're awake." Emma turned her head slightly and saw Marcus sitting in a chair beside her bed. He looked terrible. His tuxedo was wrinkled and stained with blood. His hair stuck up in every direction. His eyes were red-rimmed and exhausted. "How long?" Emma's voice came out as a raspy whisper. 6 hours. They had to remove the bullet from your shoulder. The doctors say you'll make a full recovery, but—" His voice broke. "Emma, you could have died. But I didn't, and neither did you." Emma tried to smile. "Worth it." "Don't say that." Marcus stood up abruptly, his hands shaking. "Don't act like your life doesn't matter. You threw yourself in front of a bullet for me." "Yes, I did." "Why?" "Why would you do something so stupid and brave and—" He couldn't finish. "Because I love you," Emma said simply, "and because someone once told me that being scared and standing your ground anyway, that's the definition of brave." Marcus stared at her, and then suddenly he was beside her bed, kneeling, taking her uninjured hand in both of his. "I can't lose you," he whispered. "I thought I could let you go. I thought it would be better for you if I stayed away. But watching you fall tonight, seeing your blood on the floor, Emma, I can't breathe without you. I don't want to live in a world where you're not in it." Emma's heart was pounding so hard it made the monitors beep faster. "What are you saying?" Marcus looked up at her with eyes full of tears and hope and something that looked like forever. "I'm saying I don't care about different worlds anymore. I don't care that this is crazy or complicated or that everyone will think I've lost my mind. I'm saying that you risked everything to save me, twice. And now it's my turn. I'm going to risk everything for you. Marcus, marry me," he said. Emma's breath caught. "What?" "Marry me, Emma Rodriguez. Not because we have to, not because it makes sense, but because I love you more than I've ever loved anything in my life. Because you make me want to be brave, because I'd rather face danger with you by my side than spend another safe, empty day without you." Emma started crying. She couldn't help it. Tears streamed down her face, making everything blurry. "That's the craziest thing I've ever heard," she sobbed. "Is that a yes?" "Of course it's a yes, you idiot." "Yes!" Marcus surged forward and kissed her, gentle because of her injuries, but fierce with emotion. When they finally broke apart, both of them were crying and laughing at the same time. "The doctors are going to kick you out for making me cry," Emma said. "Let them try." Marcus pressed his forehead against hers. "I'm not leaving you, not ever again." "What about the assassin? What happened?" "Dead. Security shot him before he could fire again, and the FBI just arrested 15 more people connected to the plot. It's really over this time, Emma. We're safe." Emma closed her eyes and breathed out slowly. They were safe. They were together. They were getting married. It was crazy and improbable and absolutely not a normal ending. But then again, Emma and Marcus had never been normal. 1 week later, Emma sat in Marcus's penthouse suite, their penthouse suite now, looking at wedding magazines on her laptop, while Sophia talked a mile a minute on the phone. "You're getting married to a billionaire?" Sophia squealed for the 100th time. "Emma, this is like a movie. Can I be a bridesmaid? Can I? Please." "Of course you can," Emma laughed. "You and Mama both." Mama's still in shock. She keeps crying every time someone mentions it. She thinks she's dreaming. "I know the feeling," Emma admitted. The truth was, the last week had felt surreal. The news media had gone crazy when they found out about the engagement. Headlines screamed, "Billionaire Marcus Webb to marry mystery woman," and "From rags to riches," the Cinderella story of Emma Rodriguez. Emma had been offered book deals, movie rights, interview requests. Everyone wanted to know her story, but Emma and Marcus had turned them all down. Some stories were private. Some miracles weren't meant to be sold. "I have to go," Sophia said reluctantly. "But Emma, I'm really happy for you. You deserve this." "Thanks, mija. I love you." "Love you, too." Emma hung up and looked around the enormous penthouse. A month ago, she'd been cleaning this very room, invisible and insignificant. Now, it was her home. Life was strange. "Deep thoughts?" Marcus asked, coming out of the bedroom with his hair still wet from the shower. "Just thinking about how much has changed." Marcus sat beside her on the couch and pulled her close, careful of her healing shoulder. "Having second thoughts?" "Never." Emma kissed him. "But I do have one question." "What's that?" "When people ask how we met, what do we tell them?" Marcus grinned, that rare, genuine smile Emma loved. "We tell them the truth, that you saved my life, that I fell in love with the bravest person I've ever known, and that sometimes the best endings are the ones that don't make sense." Emma smiled and rested her head on his shoulder. She thought about the title that had somehow started all of this. She risked everything to save the billionaire, but what happened next will break your heart. People probably expected a tragic ending, expected Emma to lose everything, expected heartbreak and tears. But they were wrong. What happened next didn't break Emma's heart. It healed it. She'd found love in the last place she expected. She'd discovered bravery she didn't know she had. She'd learned that sometimes risking everything was the only way to gain everything that mattered. Yes, she'd been shot. Yes, she'd nearly died. But she'd also found her soulmate, her partner, her home, and that was worth every risk she'd ever taken. Outside the penthouse windows, the city lights sparkled like stars. Inside, Emma Rodriguez, soon to be Emma Webb, was exactly where she belonged, in the arms of the man she loved. Safe, happy, home. 3 months had passed since the engagement. Emma stood in the bridal shop, surrounded by mirrors that reflected her image from every angle. The wedding dress she wore was like something from a fairy tale, white lace and silk that flowed around her like water with delicate beading that caught the light. "You look like a princess," Sophia squealed, bouncing on the velvet couch beside their mother. Emma's mother dabbed at her eyes with a tissue, crying for what must have been the 10th time that day. "My baby girl, getting married to such a good man." Emma smiled, but something felt wrong. She couldn't shake the feeling that had been growing inside her for weeks now. Everything was perfect. Too perfect. Marcus had been amazing, patient, loving, supportive. He'd welcomed her family into his life without hesitation. He'd helped Sophia apply for scholarships to the best universities. He'd bought Emma's mother a new house in a safe neighborhood with a garden she'd always dreamed of having. He'd given Emma everything she could possibly want. So why did she feel like she was drowning? "What do you think, mija?" her mother asked. "Is this the dress?" Emma looked at herself in the mirror. The woman staring back looked beautiful and elegant and completely unlike the housekeeper who'd cleaned hotel rooms just 4 months ago. "It's perfect," Emma said, because it was what everyone wanted to hear. But that night, alone in the penthouse while Marcus was at a business dinner, Emma couldn't stop the thoughts that had been haunting her. She'd left her job at the hotel. Marcus had insisted she didn't need to work anymore, that she should focus on planning the wedding and enjoying her new life. He'd meant well, but Emma missed having something that was hers, something she'd earned. She'd tried volunteering at the children's hospital, but everyone treated her differently now. They didn't see Emma Rodriguez, the girl who'd worked her way up from nothing. They saw Marcus Webb's fiancée, the woman who'd landed a billionaire. Even her old co-workers had changed. When Emma visited the Webb Grand Hotel to say hello, they'd been polite but distant, like she'd become someone they couldn't relate to anymore. Emma had everything she'd never known she wanted, but she'd lost herself in the process. The front door opened, and Marcus came in, loosening his tie. "Hey," he said, smiling when he saw her. "How was dress shopping?" "Good. We found one." Marcus studied her face. "What's wrong?" "Nothing. I'm just tired." "Emma." Marcus sat down beside her on the couch and took her hand. "I know you better than that now. Talk to me." Emma wanted to lie, wanted to smile and say everything was fine, but she couldn't anymore. "I don't know who I am," she whispered. "I used to be Emma Rodriguez, a housekeeper who sent money home and worked hard and had a purpose. Now I'm—" "What?" "A billionaire's fiancé who goes to charity lunches and gets photographed by magazines. That's not me, Marcus." Marcus was quiet for a long moment. "Do you want to call off the wedding?" "What? No." Emma turned to face him. "I love you. I want to marry you. But I need to be more than just your wife. I need to be myself, too." "Then be yourself," Marcus said simply. "Emma, I fell in love with you because of who you are, brave and hard-working and real. I never wanted you to change. If you want to work, work. If you want to start a business or go back to school or do anything else, I'll support you, whatever makes you happy. You won't think I'm ungrateful." "Ungrateful?" Marcus looked genuinely confused. "Emma, you saved my life. Twice. You could ask me for the moon, and I'd find a way to give it to you. But I don't want you to be miserable trying to fit into my world. I want you to create your own world, and I'll fit into yours." Emma felt tears prick her eyes. "I was thinking, maybe I could go to college, study business management, open a nonprofit that helps other immigrants find good jobs and housing. I know what it's like to struggle, and I want to help people who—" "Yes," Marcus interrupted. "You didn't even let me finish. Yes to all of it. Yes to college. Yes to the nonprofit. Yes to whatever dreams you have that you haven't told me about yet. Emma, I love you. That means supporting you, not putting you in a golden cage." Emma threw her arms around him, crying into his shoulder. "Thank you," she whispered. "For what?" "For still seeing me." Marcus pulled back and cupped her face in his hands. "I will always see you. Emma Rodriguez, you're the most visible person in my life." They kissed, and for the first time in weeks, Emma felt like she could breathe again. The wedding was scheduled for 2 months away, and Emma threw herself into planning, but on her terms now. Instead of the massive 500-person event Marcus's publicist had suggested, they decided on something smaller, intimate, just family and close friends in the garden of Marcus's estate. Emma enrolled in online classes toward her business degree. She started researching nonprofits and meeting with community organizers who worked with immigrant families. She found her purpose again, and she was happy. Really, truly happy. Everything was finally falling into place. Until the day Marcus came home from a meeting with his lawyers, his face pale and drawn. "We need to talk," he said. Emma's stomach dropped. Those 4 words were never followed by anything good. They sat down in the living room, and Marcus handed her a folder filled with legal documents. "What is this?" Emma asked. "A prenuptial agreement. My lawyers insist on it." Emma's hands trembled as she opened the folder and scanned the pages. Legal jargon filled the documents, but the basic message was clear. If she and Marcus divorced, Emma would receive a settlement, but nothing compared to Marcus's actual wealth. "I don't understand," Emma said slowly. "Do you think we're going to get divorced?" "No, of course not." "Then why this?" Marcus ran his hands through his hair. "It's not about us, Emma. It's about protecting the business. The hotels employ thousands of people. If something happened to me, or if we split up and there was a legal battle over assets, those jobs could be at risk. My lawyers say this is standard procedure for people with significant holdings." "Standard procedure," Emma repeated flatly. "Emma, please don't take this personally. How am I supposed to take it?" Emma stood up, the folder falling to the floor. "4 months ago, you told me you'd risk everything for me. You said you didn't care about the money, and now you're asking me to sign a contract that says I could never be your equal, that I'll always be the poor girl who got lucky. That's not what this means." "Then what does it mean, Marcus?" Emma's voice broke. "Because it feels like I'm being reminded of my place, like no matter what I do or who I become, I'll never really belong in your world." "You're twisting this." "Am I? Your lawyers think I'm a gold digger. They think I saved your life and fell in love with you just to get access to your money, and you're going along with it." "I have to." Marcus stood up, his own frustration showing now. "Emma, I wish we lived in a world where this didn't matter, where we could just love each other and that would be enough. But I have responsibilities, legal obligations. I'm asking you to understand." "I understand perfectly," Emma said quietly. "I understand that at the end of the day, you trust your lawyers more than you trust me." "That's not fair." "Isn't it?" Emma looked at him with tears streaming down her face. "You know what the saddest part is. I would have signed it. If you just talked to me first, explained why it mattered, treated me like a partner instead of springing legal documents on me, I would have understood. But this? This feels like a test I didn't know I was taking." Marcus reached for her, but Emma stepped back. "I need some time to think," she said. "Emma, please. I'm going to stay with my mother for a few days. I'll call you when I'm ready to talk." Emma packed a bag and left before Marcus could say anything else. Emma's mother took one look at her daughter's face and pulled her into a tight hug. "What happened, mija?" Emma told her everything, about the prenup, about feeling lost, about wondering if she'd made a terrible mistake thinking she could build a life with someone from such a different world. Her mother listened quietly, then made tea and sat Emma down at the kitchen table. "Let me tell you a story," her mother said. "When your father and I got married, we had nothing. He worked in construction. I cleaned houses. We lived in a tiny apartment with holes in the walls. But we were happy because we chose each other every day." "I know, Mama. I've heard this story. Let me finish." Her mother took Emma's hand. 5 years into our marriage, your father got very sick. The medical bills were so high, we almost lost everything. I had to work 3 jobs. We fought all the time about money, and one night, your father said to me, 'Maybe you should leave me. Find someone who can give you a better life.'" Emma had never heard this part before. "What did you do?" I told him he was an idiot." Her mother smiled. "I didn't marry him for what he could give me. I married him because he made me laugh, because he believed in my dreams, because when I looked at him, I saw home. The money problems were real, but they weren't bigger than our love. So you think I should just sign the prenup and forget about it?" "No." Her mother squeezed Emma's hand. "I think you should ask yourself, why are you really upset? Is it because of the contract, or is it because you're scared?" "Scared of what?" "Of being happy, of having everything you never thought you could have, of believing you deserve it." Emma felt like she'd been punched in the chest, because her mother was right. The prenup wasn't really the problem. Emma had never cared about Marcus's money. If they lost everything tomorrow and had to live in a tiny apartment, she'd still love him. No, the real problem was that deep down, Emma still couldn't believe this was her life. She still felt like the invisible housekeeper who didn't belong in penthouses and wedding dresses and charity galas. She was self-sabotaging because being disappointed now felt safer than risking bigger heartbreak later. "I'm an idiot," Emma whispered. "Yes," her mother agreed cheerfully, "but you're my idiot. Now go home and talk to that man who loves you." Emma drove back to the penthouse, her heart pounding. She found Marcus sitting on the couch in the dark, still wearing the same clothes from earlier. He looked up when she came in, his eyes red-rimmed. "I'm sorry," they both said at the same time. Marcus stood up. "I should have talked to you first. I should have explained instead of just handing you legal documents. I was trying to handle it like a business problem, but this isn't business. This is us. And I'm sorry." "I'm sorry, too," Emma said. "I was scared, and I took it out on you. The prenup isn't the problem. I'm the problem. I keep waiting for this to fall apart because I don't think I deserve to be this happy." "Emma, let me finish." Emma walked over to him. "I love you. I want to marry you. And I'll sign any contract your lawyers want, because at the end of the day, I trust you. I trust us. The paperwork doesn't matter. What matters is that we choose each other." Marcus pulled her into his arms, holding her so tight she could barely breathe. "I choose you," he whispered into her hair. "Every day, every moment, for the rest of my life, I choose you." They stood there in the dark penthouse, holding each other, and Emma finally let herself believe it. This was real. This was forever. This was her happy ending. 1 month later, Emma stood in front of the mirror again, but this time it was her wedding day. The dress fit perfectly. Her hair was styled in soft curls. Sophia had done her makeup, light and natural, exactly how Emma wanted it. Through the window, Emma could see guests gathering in the garden. Only 80 people. Family, real friends, people who mattered. Catherine was there in a dress instead of her usual security uniform. Derek was joking with Sophia's boyfriend. Emma's mother was crying happy tears while Marcus's sister Elena helped her find a tissue. It was perfect. Not magazine perfect or billionaire perfect, just perfect for them. "Ready?" Sophia asked, adjusting Emma's veil. Emma looked at her little sister, so grown up now, about to start college in the fall on a full scholarship she'd earned herself. "Ready?" Emma said. The music started, and Emma walked down the garden path on her mother's arm. And there, at the end of the aisle, stood Marcus. He wore a simple suit, no tuxedo, no fancy accessories. His hair was slightly messy because the wind had been blowing. He had tears in his eyes. He looked at Emma like she was the only person in the world. When Emma reached him, Marcus took her hands. "Hi," he whispered. "Hi," Emma whispered back. The officiant began speaking, but Emma barely heard the words. She was too focused on Marcus's face. On the way, he smiled at her, on the feeling of his hands holding hers. This was what mattered, not the money or the mansions or the fairy tale romance. Just two people who'd found each other in the most unlikely circumstances and decided to be brave enough to stay. "Do you, Marcus Alexander Webb, take Emma Sophia Rodriguez to be your lawfully wedded wife?" "I do," Marcus said firmly. "And do you, Emma Sophia Rodriguez, take Marcus Alexander Webb to be your lawfully wedded husband?" Emma thought about everything that had led to this moment, the hotel room she'd been cleaning when she first heard Dimitri's threats, the night she'd gotten the phone call telling her to run, the ledger she'd stolen from Volkov's office, the bullet she'd taken at the charity gala. She thought about how she'd risked everything to save this man, and how he'd saved her right back. "I do," Emma said. "Then by the power vested in me, I now pronounce you husband and wife. You may kiss the bride." Marcus pulled Emma close and kissed her while everyone cheered. When they broke apart, both of them were crying and laughing at the same time. "Mrs. Webb," Marcus said, testing out the name. "Mr. Webb," Emma replied, grinning. They walked back down the aisle together, hand in hand, toward the reception and the dancing and the future. A future Emma had never imagined for herself. A future she'd earned through bravery and sacrifice and love. A future that, yes, had broken her heart into pieces, but only so it could be rebuilt into something stronger, something real, something that would last. Emma stood in front of a newly renovated building, scissors in hand, ready to cut the ribbon. The Rodriguez Foundation for Immigrant Services read the sign above the door. Behind her stood Marcus, holding their 3-year-old daughter, Isabella. Sophia was there with her medical degree in hand, about to start her residency at the best hospital in the city. Emma's mother was crying, as usual, surrounded by community members who'd helped make this dream a reality. In 5 years, Emma had earned her business degree. She'd started small, helping one family find housing, another find employment. But the foundation had grown. Now they helped hundreds of families every year, providing legal services, job training, English classes, and support. Emma had done it herself, with her own work, her own vision. Marcus had helped, of course. He'd donated the building and provided seed funding, but the foundation was Emma's, and everyone knew it. She wasn't just Marcus Webb's wife anymore. She was Emma Rodriguez Webb, businesswoman, philanthropist, and advocate. She was herself. "Ready?" Marcus asked, kissing the top of Isabella's head. "Ready," Emma said. She cut the ribbon, and everyone cheered. Later that night, after the celebration, Emma and Marcus stood on their balcony watching the city lights. "Do you ever think about that first day?" Marcus asked. "When you were just the housekeeper cleaning my penthouse?" "All the time," Emma admitted. "Sometimes I still can't believe this is my life." "Do you have any regrets?" Emma thought about the question seriously, about the dangers she'd faced, the bullet scar on her shoulder that would never fully fade, the moments of doubt and fear and heartbreak. "No," she said finally. "I risked everything to save you. And yes, what happened next broke my heart, broke it into 1,000,000 pieces. But you know what? Those broken pieces became something beautiful. They became us, our family, our life, this foundation, all of it. Marcus pulled her close. I love you, Emma Rodriguez Webb. I love you too, Marcus Alexander Webb. Inside, Isabella called for her parents, and they went to her together. Their story hadn't been easy. It hadn't been simple or logical or even believable sometimes, but it had been theirs. And in the end, that was all that mattered.